if you're like me, TV was a babysitter in your house. When I grew up, that was sort of, my mom would plunk me in front of the television, let it go, and I would just kind of sit there all day, pretty much enthralled in the glow of the television. And one of the things that stood out to me, one of the things that really kind of always grabbed me, were local TV ads. And if you're of my age, and if you're watching this, you might be, those were some golden days for TV commercials. They were pretty out there. They were pretty crazy. And to this day, almost about years later, I still remember most of them. I can still sing some of the jingles. I can still think about what they were, who they were, what they were for, the business, all of that. Now, that's something, right? That makes it memorable. And I mean, who doesn't want that? Now, what that does is it really gets us to know about that business. It kind of sticks in our head. And one of the fun things I like to do with people is sometimes, and it's a little trickier because back east it worked better because back then TV commercials, local TV commercials were very regional. But if I say to you, go call Cal, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? Like I don't even have to go any further. Or go see Cal, sorry. I'm not a California boy. I am now, but I wasn't then. If I say go see Cal, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like you get it. And immediately, if you understand what I'm saying, then I know you know. And then that means we've had a shared experience. I have a lot more information about you. I have a deeper understanding of who you are, what you like, what makes you laugh, what intrigues you and excites you. And that helps me in all my marketing and sales because I know now how to talk to you. I know the things that I can do to engage with you better. All right. Now, I know that is a very simplistic view. I know I have watered it down to its barest essence. But we're going to get into it a little bit more detail on the other side, so I'll see you there. All right. Hey there, welcome back to the conversation. I'm E.H. Howard, and your swanky host and a fellow self-employed small business owner. Here on the conversation, we discuss some of the challenges that all self-employed small home and solopreneur businesses face, because our challenges are a little different than other people's. We don't always have the problems that the big boys have. We have a lot of them, and they're very magnified because it's a smaller thing. I mean, for us, a slow month could be death, right? Like we have different problems. And I'm not rehashing anything that you don't already know. So, all this week in all of the content, we've been talking about being unforgettable, and every business wants to be front in mind. We want to be the first business people talk about or people remember when someone says to them, hey, do you know somebody that does? And you want to be able to say, I know some. Not only do I know somebody, I know something who is freaking fantastic, and you need to know them. All right. Now, customers might not need our services tomorrow, so we need to be memorable, and we need to be out there making sure that we are reminding them who we are, and that's a lot of pressure. That is to be memorable a year from now, 2 years from now. You know, if you're something like, a house painter, your services aren't needed every day. Your services aren't needed every month. You are, but by different people, not the same. You're not going to go back to the same business every day, every week. All right. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. There's kind of been difference. Some businesses, like the gym, the grocery store, the Dinky Donuts, those places, they have people coming in on a regular basis. The reminding, it's kind of already built in. All right. You don't need to remind the grocery store doesn't need to remind you that they're there. You know that they're there. All right. And that's the difference. All right. And we're talking about the people like us whose services are not needed on a daily or weekly basis. Maybe once a month, maybe once every 6 months, maybe every 2 or 3 years. All right. Now, let's step back for a second, because at the top of the show, I started talking about local TV ads. And I grew up back east. And so my experience from my husband, who grew up out here, is slightly different. Even though we are exactly the same age, our East Coast differences, our coastal differences really play out sometimes. When I was a kid, my Saturday mornings were basically in the house watching TV. It snowed it snowed a lot when I was, or it seemed like it snowed all the time when I was a kid. And you can only play out in the snow for so long, right? Like it kind of, after about an hour or two, it gets a little, So most of my day was I would spend on Saturdays with Dr. Shock watching monster movie marathons. And I'm sure you all had it. I think Elvira was out here, or Svengoolie or something like that. But that was my Saturdays, and that's how I sort of developed my love for the classic Universal movies, kaiju movies, like they were all there because it was what they showed. Now, was as great as those things were and as much fun as those were, the best parts were the local TV commercials, all right? And as I said, I can remember a bunch of them. I bet if I ran into some friends from high school and I sang some of the jingles, they would know exactly what I was talking about. And they probably could tell me 9 times out of 10 what they were doing, watching monster movies. It's what we did. We were a weird group of kids, all right? Now, I can still, to this day, remember a good portion of those. I can remember singing the songs, I can remember the jingles, I can remember the business and what it was for. And to be honest, that's fucking amazing, right? I mean, like, to be that memorable, have someone know your jingle about years from now is truly amazing. I mean, right, like, who doesn't want that? Now, we got to be fair, we got to be transparent here. It is only a small handful of businesses that were able to achieve that. There was only a small handful of businesses that could afford to run a TV ad back then. Even though it was on UHF and it was on Saturday morning during the monster movies, it still cost money. So it was something that not everybody got into. It was a special sort of thing, all right? Now, when it comes to sales and marketing, you have 2 options, all right? Now, you can keep in front of them on a regular basis, run a commercial every day, constantly. If you watch Food Network, you'll know that it is constantly the same commercial, all day, every day. Or you can do something extremely crazy and outrageous that gets everybody talking about you. And you're thinking, well, those 2 options straight up suck, dude. I got to spend a lot of money, or I got to be a total fool. Well, not necessarily. Though they're not separate and equal. There's a lot of crossover in those, and let's get into it for a second. One of the things is you need to be hard to forget, all right? But at the same time, you are dealing with people who already know you, who are purchasing from you, who know about your business. All they need is a small bit of reminding here and there. They need every once in a while for you to reach out and be like, hey, remember me? I'm here for you, all right? Now, I make it sound super easy, right? Like, that's all it's going to take is just you, like, every once in a while being like, hey, how you doing? Me, remember? Okay, bye. I'll see you in 6 months again. It's easy, but it ain't that easy, all right? Let's be honest. Now, what I'm saying is, no one person has it any easier than anyone else. We all have our struggles. We all have our water to carry, all right? But businesses that consumers need every day, as I said, they have a little bit easier, all right? Again, it's things like the gym, the grocery store, probably your dry cleaner, the Dinky Donuts, because I'm constantly at the Dinky Donuts and I need to cut that out. They are reminding you kind of built in. Like, the reminding is built in. I need to get my clothes washed, okay, or clothes cleaned. Who am I going to go? I'm going to go to my dry cleaner. I need milk. Where am I going to go? I can go to the 7-Eleven, or I can go to the grocery store. What is ever easier for me, right? Because in those everyday types of business, you're not really going to switch companies very often. You're not going to switch and move to somebody else unless something really drastic happens at that business, all right? Unless, like, somebody really offends you or does something really egregious at the gym, you are not going to switch your gym. You're not going to switch grocery stores. Especially for grocery stores, it's a matter of convenience because, we have a grocery store around the corner from us. It's not the best. There's a better one. This one's probably about 2 blocks from us. There's another one that's about 8 blocks. We tend to go to the one that's 2 blocks away, and every time we do, we're reminded of why we should go to the one 8 blocks away. And that's not a really great example because that kind of negates my argument to some degree, but you know what I'm saying. You get where I'm coming from, all right? Because you don't need things like a tax broker or tax consultant every day, a mortgage broker, a graphic designer. To them, to us, it is more of a challenge to be remembered because we are not always there for you. You will only remember us in the time of a pain point, tax season, when you need something designed, when you need to buy a house. You're not going to use our services every day, every month, maybe even every year. If you're a mortgage broker, you got a lot of work ahead of you because you need to find new consumers literally every day. Like, that's how your business is built. You know, you're not going to be really relying on repeat customers very much. Now, it's when you're in a more regular reminder mode, which sounds kind of, I was calling it constant reminder mode, but regular reminder mode sounds better. It's less aggressive, less in your face. When you are in a regular reminder mode, you need to get in touch with that business on a regular basis. You need to just drop in and say something. It's really all based in appreciation, all right? You want to just send a thank you note, send them an offer. This is where things like sales come in. You know, like a lot of businesses will do a sale. We're going to do 25% off. The idea is to remind you that you may not come in for the product, but you're going to be reminded that they're there. All right. That is the goal. And the goal in appreciation is that we want to show our consumers thanks so that when they get asked, do you know somebody who does? Then we immediately come to mind. We are the person that they think of. And the way to get that to happen is through appreciation, to constantly show them appreciation. So, you know, send a postcard, send a handwritten note, anything that will disrupt their day and their week and get them to remember who you are. It doesn't take a lot. Even a simple email. Hey, just wanted to check in. Haven't heard from you for a while. You know, just wanted to see what's going on. How's the wife and kids? I would strongly suggest keep it business focused, but also make it about them. All right? Because people, we want to know that we are important, that we are valued. And if you make it about them, if you talk to them, then they are going to really appreciate it. Like, hey, I can't remember he remembered my son's birthday or whatever. Now, I'm not saying you got to get up in their face and be personal. I'm not saying that all of this should just kind of come naturally. And you're thinking, well, who can keep track of all this? I'm not saying you have to do it every day, all right? And I'm not saying you have to do it for every consumer that comes into your business. But you have a base of casual consumers and super fans who know people just like them. People who want to purchase the same things that they purchase, who have the same tastes, behaviors, and habits that they do. People who would be great for your business. So focus on them first, all right? That is your first line of defense. I would say hit the super fans and Betties first. Stay in touch with them. Set up a plan like, all right, every month I'm going to send out an email. And we're not talking like, especially if you're a small, self-employed, you know, home business, we're not talking thousands of super fans. We're talking maybe 100, if you're lucky, maybe 100. But it's probably more like 20 or 30. That's an easy number every day. Okay, I'm going to send, and I would say create a boilerplate email or messaging, but make sure that you leave space in there to customize it, because the last thing you want to do is send out the same email to every person. All right, you don't want, because they know each other, they're going to talk, and you send out that same email, then that just kind of that negates the purpose of reaching out to them, is kind of where I'm going with it. All right. So I'm getting a little long-winded again, which is sort of my brand, but those are the things we need to be constantly focusing on. We need to be constantly reminding the core consumers, our ideal consumers, who we are and what we do in a way that doesn't come off as aggressive. It doesn't come off as salesy, doesn't come off as being something other than, I am genuinely concerned. I haven't heard from you in a while. Just wanted to reach out. Let me know. Maybe see if they want to go for some coffee. Grab some and keep it friendly. Keep it business friendly, but keep it friendly. You don't have to sell them every 5 minutes. All right. They are already sold on your business. They are already sold on who you are. They don't need any more selling. All right. All right. So this has been the conversation. I'm E.H. Howard, and leave comments below. I'd like to start having a dialogue on these things, a real exchange of ideas, and let me know. You're in this situation. You're facing this every day. You're dealing with it on a regular basis, and I'd love to hear from you and your experiences on how you are staying in touch with your ideal consumers, your super fans, your Bettys, how you're motivating them to bring forward some more of their friends and families so that they can better help you. All right. Again, this video is part of a full week of content in which we are going to be talking about being hard to forget. You can access it all in the hub. It's your center point for the week. If you need it, you're going to find it in the hub. Everything that's linked there, once the video goes live or the content goes live, the link will be live. So keep checking back all throughout the week. And I do want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate everybody taking the time to watch these videos, to spend some time with me in your busy day. I know how hard that can be. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Other than that, follow me on social media. While you're at ehhoward.com, check out, there's lots of great stuff there for you to view. There's the basics, there's some information about me, all of that. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video. All right, bye.